of yourself at discover.com/match.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are 30 games over 500 after winning 2 in Cleveland on Thursday. The Dodgers are rolling to another NL West title. They lead the Giants by 12 games. They're in Boston tonight to begin a 3-game series. The Final Four of the Little League World Series is set. A California team from El Segundo will play Texas on Saturday for the U.S. Championship. 12:30 start on ABC. Curacao plays Chinese Taipei Saturday morning for the international title. The winners meet on Sunday for the World Championship. Former USC wide receiver Jordan Addison pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge for speeding. Addison, a first-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings, was pulled over on July 20th for driving 140 miles an hour on a highway in St. Paul. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Let's begin now. 360.
I woke up this morning and I said, instead of waiting for a good day to happen, waiting around through ups and downs, I just said, look. We're gonna have a good day, and all my homies gonna ride today, and all these homies look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and ain't nobody gotta cry today, 'cause ain't nobody gonna die today. You save that trouble for another day. Hey, we're gonna have a good day. Hairline fresh, new cologne on, feeling so good, change the color to my phone. Orange Kool-Aid go good with Patron. No. It's still my ringtone, free car wash. Had to clean up the Dodge. Give back when I can, just playing my part. Church folks had a fish fry, mustard, hot sauce, light bread, and french fries. Love for the big guy, hit the park, blowing, showing off their house. Nappy Roots on the radio, and you know it about last night they hit the big 3. Bought some Air Force Ones, 4 tall tees. Man, I'm loving Big G. And all my homies gonna ride today, and all these homies look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and ain't nobody gotta cry today, 'cause ain't nobody gonna die today. You save that trouble for another day. Hey,
KBLA Talk 1580. A good day indeed. It's a great day when my friend attorney Caree Harper is in the studio. Today's episode of First Things First is brought to you by Wealth Management Financial Advisors, offering tax services, financial planning, and more. Get it together, whether you're a small business, a nonprofit organization, or an individual. They can help you. Find them at wealthmanagementlb.com. Caree Harper is one of our leading civil rights attorneys. Sometimes I think she doesn't get as much credit as she should. And I've got my own theories about why. Before she was an attorney, she was one of the most decorated police officers in the East Bay area, achieving a Marksman Medal for shooting skills and a Lifesaving Medal for diving into a canal of water, pulling out an unconscious submerged driver, performing CPR until the person was airlifted to safety, and he fully recovered. I call that saving a life. She was injured in the line of duty. She was retrained to be a certified paralegal, worked for several law firms, went to law school, passed the bar on the first try, And now here she is. She works for social good, recognized in the county of LA when she got the Shirley Fields Volunteer Award for dedicating so much of her time to pro bono work. Caree Harper is an attorney who has worked many of these cases, which you may have heard the names of high-profile cases like 19-year-old Kendrick McDade, who was killed by Pasadena police, Anthony McLean, and more. Attorney Caree Harper, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Right? This is my first time here. It looks great.
Welcome to KBLA. It's always more fun when folks come in and hang out with me. So this Winco case, the Winco food store, the case where a woman was filming her husband, boyfriend being detained by cops.
We'll see. There's a little confusion. Actually, they don't have an intimate type relationship. They're close friends.
Okay.
And they were inside the store shopping, and they purchased things. There's a lot of false reporting about there's an alleged stolen cake or something of that nature. They actually purchased items. He did purchase a cake. He went outside and ate it, and then went back in while she was grocery shopping. And there was some exchange of words and dispute, so she decided to return all of the things that she'd purchased. And that's when a little conflict with a security personnel occurred. The security personnel was following her around. If you look at the snippet that was shown, you could see the guy step into her line of walking, and then there is contact, and then words are exchanged. But what's interesting is Winco only gave the snippet to this deputy's union attorney. Winco will not give me the other footage that shows other things that occurred that's exculpatory for them, i.e. the purchasing of the items.
Exculpatory means it would help them.
Yeah,
it would help, show that they weren't guilty.
Right. It would show that my clients didn't do anything and they paid for their items. So it's in Winco's benefit to kind of hide the ball, which is what they're doing. And then you have this union attorney. You may have seen him out front talking about the throwdown was justified. And I did have to caution him, and I have no problem with cautioning him again. If he keeps saying that, he may find himself on the other side of a defamation suit, because unless he can show that, he shouldn't be saying certain things like that. It should be in his opinion about certain stuff. But anyway, we won't split hairs on that.
No, but it's interesting because one of my things that bugs me, Attorney Harper, is when people get killed or they get beat up by police or whatever, then the police always say, oh, we can't talk about an ongoing investigation, but then attorneys and or even the police themselves put out all of this damaging information about the actual victim.
And we don't have anything in our possession to refute it, and we don't get it until later, months later, after we have subpoena authority in the civil litigation. So thank God for the person filming in the parking lot, the woman yelling, saying, don't you hit her. You hear that footage, thank God for her. Kind of like the Darnella Frazier. Without Darnella Frazier in Minneapolis, there would have been no knowledge of George Floyd's abuse, torture, and ultimate killing. So we need folks to film. She was thrown down because she was filming. She feared that there would be police misconduct. And we need people out there that feel that don't have their Fourth Amendment rights impeached on to keep filming. So we don't want anything to happen to them. We want them to keep filming, keep people in check, because we can't get the body cam footage for months.
They won't give you the footage. Okay, so it's interesting how, the misinformation or rumors just spread wildly. Everyone was convinced these two were married, and that the man actually stole that cake.
Oh, right.
But you're saying he bought the cake. It's just because he was out there eating the cake.
There was so many things about the cake. It's not about the cake, and it's only a cake. But it wasn't even it wasn't even a stolen cake. I mean, even if it was, and what Miss Molly Bell was trying to remember, what I said in the press conference was that the deputy cannot be saved by subsequently acquired knowledge, meaning you can't find out later that there was an alleged bumping and alleged spitting, which I'm not saying that occurred, but you can't find that out later and say, aha, this is why the deputy threw her down to effect an arrest about what she did in the store, when A, the deputy didn't know about that, B, the security guard didn't come out and ID her prior to them laying on hands, so you would have no knowledge that this is the for sure person that was involved in an altercation in the store without an in-person ID. So there's a lot of problems with that, with the case, and it's really troubling. Have you ever seen it when a union attorney comes out before even the plaintiff's lawyer gets to do a press conference about the excessive force? You have this deputy's lawyer saying, hey, but wait, he was justified.
No, actually, I haven't.
Neither have I. And we want to get them back in their closets. We want to get them to shut back up again. He was way too brazen to come out and do that. So we want them a little bit more gun shy. They should stay reserved and say, hey, litigation is pending. We can't count on it. We can't comment on it. And we believe our client will be exonerated. Things to that effect. But when you come out guns blazing against my client, you know, hey, if you bring a gun, I want to bring a shotgun. You bring a knife, I want to bring a gun. So I don't like this union attorney part, and I don't like people who go after the victim, who we should give, we should give credence to. We don't want people going after them and bad-mouthing, because you never hear them coming back and exonerating the victim.
No, they never do.
I.e. Kendrick McDade, when Falante Riddle went after him wrongfully, and she was wrong, and she never came back and did the right thing, and she should be held accountable for that.
Falante Riddle now running for the assembly.
And if there's I have almost zero energy to deal with anything political in the election, but I'm hoping someone else jumps in the race against her, because it would be a travesty if she got elected. But I don't want to digress
Falante Riddle,
into the...
I want to pick up on it, because if I say we'll circle back to it, we'll forget. Falante Riddle, of course, used to be a police officer, right?
In Pasadena. Defending Pasadena officers who killed black folks.
Right. And now she's running for assembly, and she's got a lot of endorsements from black folks.
From progressive politicians who probably don't know what will be released, which is her deposition testimony that I took, where she's saying there is no code of silence. There is no real police abuse against black folks, and everything is just hunky-dory at this police department. And they should be on a list, number one on the list for consent decrees.
Yeah, you think so, Pasadena?
Almost
we were talking about this yesterday, and I asked James Farr and Attorney Romero, do they think that Pasadena Police Department should be under a consent decree?
I heard that.
And you think they definitely should.
Attorney Romero is so nice. Isn't he adorable?
Yeah.
He didn't want to comment on that at all.
No. But you will.
He was Switzerland. Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, they should.
Yeah.
Because they are just brazen about it, and they've been emboldened. I recently released a video of them drinking on duty in uniform.
That was you that released
shots.
that video?
Yes,
I saw
it
that
was.
video, yeah.
Oh, you didn't see the little credit?
I
that
probably
marker
did.
was right in the center.
I'd be forgetting, Carrie. Don't.
But it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
They were drinking on duty. They went back on patrol. And I'd say anyone arrested in the city of Pasadena in the month of January this year, if you're arrested for drunk driving, please call my office, because you know what? If you're pulled over for drunk driving, they say, hey, I smell an odor of an alcoholic beverage. It's like, is that your breath or is that my breath? How can you say that it was me? I mean, they should really fight it. I did send notices out both to Pasadena public defenders in Pasadena, the union, the PD union, everyone who would be defending these cases that I knew. I sent it out and say, please look at this footage. If you have people arrested by this agency, they should be on a Brady list, meaning this should be discoverable to anyone arrested by those officers. Elgin Lee, Marco Mendoza, Alatorre. They should be on a list where if those officers are witnesses in a criminal case, they can be impeached based on the fact that they're drinking in uniform on duty with a gun on their hip, and then they get back in the patrol car and drive. What if there was another Kendrick McDade or another Anthony McLean in their path? So, and then we don't have the blood test to show they were drunk when they killed them. How does that balance out?
It's just astounding. Talking with civil rights attorney Caree Harper, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My check engine light's on?
That could hurt your gas mileage. The AutoZone free Fix Finder service can help find the fix for free.
Get in zone.
This whole report for free?
That's right, printed and on your phone for free.
Get in zone.
But what if the fix is too tough?
We'll recommend a local shop. Fix Finder, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm excited because my friend Caree Harper, civil rights attorney, is in the studio. And I've already learned so much about this case. Your client, who was thrown down on the ground for filming her friend, not her boyfriend, not her husband, her friend. They had both bought stuff in the store. The store was rude to them, so she was like, I'm going to return this crap. You're not going to treat me terrible and get my money.
Right.
Then that escalates. Now the officer, or deputy, because this is sheriff's department, throws a woman down on the ground. And we found out this week that there will be no charges against her. Is that correct?
Yeah, there will not be any charges. They didn't file those. The strangest thing, I've never had a case where it was on such a security lockdown and you couldn't get anyone at the DA's office to return a call or give you any. Yeah. So, but ultimately, a deputy at the sheriff's station said, hey, yeah, well, it looks like it's still going on the 22nd. So, of course, we have to show up. If ever you sign a promise to appear, you must appear no matter how egregious the violation is getting you to getting you through the citation. But yeah, so we went there. He was Mr. Barnes was cited for 148 misdemeanor obstructing justice and 602 for trespassing, and Miss Houston was not cited. She was charged with 69 PC, which is felony obstruction of justice.
Wow.
Right. And you know, a lot of folks may not know this, but when you're in an academy, you're taught if you lay hands on people, especially if you use force, they better be going to jail. So the fact that they were charged is surprising to some, but not surprising to folks who do what we do, because if you beat them up, you're not just going to say, okay, have a good day and drive off.
Right. So it's like, so if you lay hands on them, they better be going to jail, because that helps justify you beating them up.
Exactly. And it acts as a deterrent, because there is case law that says if you're found guilty or you plead to 148, there's a case, Heck v. Humphrey. I won't get into it, but it says you can't sue them for excessive force, but there's also ways to get around that based on the situation.
What's a 148?
Misdemeanor obstruction of justice. So, meaning as minor as if an officer says, go over there, and you move too slow, you're holding them up or delaying an officer. And I've seen people arrested because they didn't move fast enough. They've been charged with a 148 for not moving fast enough. That section is also called contempt of cop. It's kind of like the most misused section in the penal code. It could be anything.
Right.
Almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my dad got charged with resisting arrest. even though they were beating him up.
Right, and a lot of times you'll see these cases, Dominique, where they're literally punching, saying, stop resisting, stop resisting.
Right.
And the person's like, I'm not resisting. Well, they're doing that for the auditory witnesses, the people who can't see the incident, but maybe they're over a fence and they say, well, I heard the officer say stop resisting, so he must have been doing something, when actually they weren't. They were just getting hit.
Okay, I thought that was like sort of a George Floyd effect, where they trying to prove that the person is resisting, even though you don't see them resisting on tape, that somehow it would help make their case.
Yeah, they say that it's almost automatic.
It's like tainting witnesses.
That's exactly what it is.
Possible witnesses. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So no charges against the lady that we saw being thrown down.
No
Miss
criminal
Houston.
charges.
Houston.
Miss Houston, right now, and statute of limitations for a misdemeanor is a year, and for a felony is 3 years. So while there are no charges right now, of course, if a DA or a city attorney wanted to file them, it's within the statute, and we really welcome them. They would actually save my office tens of thousands of dollars, because it's more expensive for me to take the depositions in the civil case than it would be for me just to show up at the criminal case, and I would subpoena everybody and
I see.
have a go of it. So I say bring it on if they want to. I don't think they will, though.
But whether they charge or not, you're moving forward with the civil case.
Oh, of course. It's already filed, and they're in the process of being served. The defendants are in the process of being served now.
And so what does that case consist of?
So we're charging them for the federal violation of her civil rights, a host of other things, and for battery, some of the state causes of action for negligence. And we're also charging this unknown security guard for bumping her first. And in federal court, we would sit in the place where the prosecutor would sit if it were a criminal case. So it is like we're prosecuting the case, and we have to move it forward, or the court will come back and say, okay, show cause why you're not prosecuting this case and moving it forward. So we're moving forward. The clients, they want their names cleared, because they don't appreciate being accused of stealing, and some news outlets were even saying that there was a robbery.
Yeah, a lot of them were.
And we haven't gotten to the bottom, because if you listen to Sheriff Luna's press conference, he said that the sheriff's department got a call of there being a battery on a security officer. But then another news outlet said they received a call of a robbery in progress,
yep.
which takes things up a notch to a felony level, like, let's hurry up, get there, and we're going guns on. But again, the police are charged with interpreting that, and laypersons, they could say whatever. You can't have a robbery without the use of force or fear. Just because somebody, even if they did take the cake, that's not a robbery unless it was in your hands and they snatched it from you and said, I'm going to, give me the cake or else.
Right,
Which didn't happen.
Right, but now it turns out they bought the cake, and none of those news outlets are going to come back and say, by the way, that robbery we told you about was actually a guy who paid for a cake and then was sitting there eating it.
Even when I've corrected them, I have contacted some of the agencies and said, can you please stop saying robbery? There was no robbery. There was not even a shoplifting. And the sheriff's supervisor that came on scene took my client's receipts for what they purchased. So we don't have the receipts any longer because they retained those.
Wow.
So they have the proof, and that's why they weren't cited for any theft-related charges, because there was never a theft.
Because they had receipts.
They had literal receipts.
They had literal receipts. They don't have them anymore. Can you get that stuff back? I guess you will.
In discovery,
in discovery. Wow, that's so crazy.
Crazy, right?
So, what's next for them? I mean, you're pursuing the civil case. Obviously you're keeping your eyes on whether or not they come back with charges. But what's next for them? I'm sure they must be pretty stressed out.
They are, and naturally so, especially at the beginning. Their lives are uprooted. Miss Houston sustained a black eye, which a lot of the outlets have not published the photograph of. She had a fractured bone in her arm and a lot of cuts and bruises, so she's physically healing and will be having some mental therapy naturally, because she's very traumatized, as well as Mr. Barnes. So right now, the process could go on. It could be as short as 6 months or as long as 2 or 3 years. You never know what's going to happen. But really, when you're in the situation, you try and heal mentally, physically, and try to go on somewhat with your life, even though it's kind of hard.
Yeah, this might be a stupid question, probably is, but is the sheriff's department cooperating with your investigation?
No.
It sounds funny when I even ask it. Sorry for laughing.
No, it's because you voted for Sheriff Luna and you were hoping like things would change.
I was hoping things would be better, but when I saw the press conference, I thought maybe not so much.
Well, the thing is that just like you guys were talking with James Farr and Attorney Romero yesterday, sometimes the person at the head of it, they are not told what the body is doing. Right. The folks in the middle are running the show, and who knows if Sheriff Luna knows as much as he's supposed to know about what they're doing at mid-management levels.
Yeah, that's
unless
a good point.
Someone breaks it.
But you should know. It's your job to know.
Well, you're accountable for it. But again, there are like 10,000. There's like
understood.
He ends up having to get sued anyway, unfortunately, because he's a policymaker.
Yeah. Well, so I guess, from your viewpoint, you don't see a lot of progress. It hasn't been long since the election, but you don't see a lot of change.
I'm not going to say I don't see a lot of change, actually. I have a case, a different case, where there are 3 minors that were shot, unarmed minors, where a sheriff's deputy says she accidentally discharged her weapon, and it went through the rear windshield and nearly missed 2 of the minors' heads. And in that case, it seems like they're working towards a favorable resolution sooner rather than later. The video wasn't released immediately, but it was released, and there's some cooperation there. I can see some evidence of change there, but just like any big old ship, it takes a long time to turn it around and right the ship, and it's only been 9 months since he's taken office. Yeah. And there's so many folks in there that's the result of the prior administration.
Yeah, no doubt. Got about a minute till news, traffic, and sports. But when you talk about this Winco case, that video really did go viral. Does that help or hurt your case?
I think it helps it. It also helps if you get out when the strike while the fire's hot. We saw a couple of things back to back in Lancaster. I know Jamon Hicks is handling a case where the Lancaster sheriff punched a woman holding her baby.
Yeah.
And it's so unbelievable. It helps when you get the information out closer to when it occurred. My clients got injured June 24th, and I didn't get within a couple of days of getting the case, I had a press conference, but in between that time, other things happen. So if you don't get out and let people know your side of it, you kind of miss a golden opportunity. And a lot of times the clients are traumatized. They don't want to do a press conference or show up. But that's kind of when they really need to get out there and show the evidence of, the black eye, the cast.
While they're in the news cycle.
Because unfortunately there'll be another one of them in a minute. As a matter of fact, Lancaster's balling their fist up to hurt somebody else probably, who knows.
Right. Talking with attorney Caree Harper. When we come forward after news, traffic, and sports, I want to ask you what this means for other people who film the police. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrimo when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Pennsylvania, Chief Larry Scarrato is continuing work on the community outreach initiative he's established for the Pittsburgh Police Bureau. The chief joined representatives with the Black Political Empowerment Project for a community meeting yesterday evening. The session was one of 5 similar discussions planned in various Pittsburgh neighborhoods, with the goal being a better relationship between the public and law enforcement, according to the chief. Some 640,000 homes and businesses in Michigan and Ohio are without power after severe thunderstorms slammed the region with heavy rains, powerful winds, and at least 1 tornado. The storms blew across southern Michigan into Ohio after midnight, packing wind gusts of up to 85 miles an hour and hail as big as 1.5 inches. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Discover credit cards do something pretty awesome. At the end of your first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right, everything you earned doubled. The cash back from trips, restaurants, all doubled. Seriously, though, see terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/Matt.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are 30 games over 500 after winning 2 in Cleveland on Thursday. The Dodgers are rolling to another NL West title. They lead the Giants by 12 games. They're in Boston tonight to begin a 3-game series. The Final Four of the Little League World Series is set. A California team from El Segundo will play Texas on Saturday for the U.S. Championship. 12:30 start on ABC. Curacao plays Chinese Taipei Saturday morning for the international title. The winners meet on Sunday for the World Championship. Former USC wide receiver Jordan Addison pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge for speeding. Addison, a first-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings, was pulled over on July 20th for driving 140 miles an hour on a highway in St. Paul. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you looking for a tax preparation firm that understands the unique financial challenges of African American business owners? Then look no more. Wealth Management Financial Advisors can prepare and file your individual and business taxes. They're committed to providing their clients with the best possible service. See how they make the greatest impact on your taxes. Find them at wealthmanagementlb.com or call them at 562-427-8877. That's 562-427-8877.
When it comes to special needs educational and health resources, Special Needs Network has you covered. On Saturday, August 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Jane Addams Park in Lawndale, Special Needs Network and California Assemblywoman Tina McKinnon invite you and your entire family for a fun-filled day at a back-to-school and health fair. Featuring music, live performances, exhibitions from your favorite professional LA sports teams, a petting zoo, pony rides, a kids zone, and professional haircuts for kids and teens. Get critical early identification and intervention resources, health and dental screenings, bags of fresh fruits and vegetables, and an opportunity to win fantastic prizes. Free backpacks and school supplies while they last for students, and a chance to win a free cell phone or tablet from TrueConnect with an EBT card. Visit SNNLA.org or on Facebook or Instagram at Special Needs Network.
Escalade IQ, this the intro to the all-electric Cadillac perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop haiku. This is what I do, daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit, you hear me? You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac, Cadillac, Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com. Available late 2024. GM estimate 450 mile range on a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection consistent with SAHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
And I'm sitting here with one of our top civil rights attorneys nationwide. Her name is Caree Harper. And you can see us, by the way, we're on the YouTube's KBLA 1580, talking about this case that I guess they say went viral. The sheriff throwing your client down at in front of the Winco store. And she was really mainly attacked because she was filming law enforcement. What does this case mean? Why is it important for other people that film law enforcement?
I think if they get away with this, that's going to have a rippling effect on other folks filming. We don't want the Darnella Frasers not to capture the George Floyd situations, and we want Miss Houston to be able to film her friend where she fears that he's going to have police excessive force on him. So it's an interesting pattern that seems to be happening in Lancaster, and I think everybody should be concerned about it, because one of the things I cite in the lawsuit for Miss Houston and Mr. Barnes is that in the case where the woman who was cradling her baby and got punched twice, I saw in the lawsuit there that they prevented, it says they prevented Miss Russell's sister from recording the horrific scene with her cell phone. So this is back in the same area, and although that incident happened a year ago, here we go again where they're keeping the phones from recording the evidence we need.
Could this be like an unspoken policy?
It seems like it is.
Policy?
They're yanking the phones out of the possession of the folks who are trying to capture the information. Why would you do that if you didn't fear that if you didn't know what you were doing was wrong? So that's a problem. That's a problem there. And these are just incidents that we know about that have been captured on videotape and have been disclosed. I mean, maybe there are other folks out there that need to either contact myself or Miss Russell's attorney and let us know, hey, I had the same thing happen to me where my phone was snatched from me when I was trying to record the sheriff out in Lancaster.
Yeah. How would they reach you?
Area code 213-386-5078. That's my office number. And
213-386-5078. If they have a case like this to report.
Or if they have information about it, yes. And then the website is attorneyharper.com. And all my social media accounts are on, www.attorneyharper.com, HARPER. So just anxious to have the information and want people's rights to be protected. You should be able to film. You should be able to keep the police in check and make sure that they're not abusing folks out there.
Yeah, and I think that, to some degree, law enforcement has gotten the message that they have to let us film. I've filmed them a couple times when I've seen them stopping some young black people, and I wanted to just be eyes and ears, and they'll tell me to get back.
Right.
They'll try to get me as far away as possible where I can't get a good shot. They'll stand in front of the person. They'll have one cop stand in front of the person to block your view.
Right.
But they haven't told me don't do it.
Right. And you do have to stay back because you don't want to now become their focus, because there is an officer safety component when someone's walking up behind you.
Right.
So we do want our officers to be safe. And my opinion, most of the officers go to the police academy and do this job because they want to protect and serve. It's a small amount of folks who get all the attention. You're frowning.
No, I'm not frowning. We're getting into agree to disagree territory, but that's fine.
Okay.
Because I think it's not because I think all cops are bad. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's the system itself. When you can have the best intentions and the best heart in the world, and I know there are plenty of cops. I know some who have got into policing because they want to make a difference, like you.
Right.
They want to make a difference in their community. Yeah. I know some.
Right.
But I think when you go into a system that is designed and descended from the slave catchers, the overseers, that has been designed to protect property over people, that has racism built into the system, it's going to be difficult to function in a way that's beneficial to the community.
That's why we have to get bad cops out and make sure good cops are protected. Mr. Romero's client yesterday, the lieutenant. Whistleblower, we have to protect folks like that. He's still on the job. We have to protect folks like, a Tyson Crutchfield in Pasadena, who's being clearly discriminated against, in my opinion, because she, we hear about her probation being extended. This is a black female officer who is getting treated differently than other probationary officers.
Who was another whistleblower, right?
Yeah. And I see your cell phone, Dominique, and the folks on the radio can't see it, but when you're recording, it makes me nervous when folks are recording with the cell phones with the dark backing. I have two, and you see I have the bright red, and then the other one's white, so we don't want anybody to mistake saying, oh, they held up a cell phone.
I thought it was a gun, and then I shot her.
I like the idea of your bedazzled background phone, your glitter bedazzled phone, light-colored phones. I know it's not the coolest thing, especially for guys, but we do want to keep you safe out there and not have somebody mistake it for a weapon.
I mean, you've had clients killed for a belt buckle, for a cell phone, for all kinds of things, and they say that they think they are guns.
Right, and every time I give like a caution, like do this, then it's something else that ends up being the cause. So I just thought I'd throw it out there because it would be nice.
So get a bling like me, so you don't have to die,
or something neon.
Like
if it,
something neon, right?
Something
exactly.
neon that glows.
Something that lights up that doesn't look like a gun. So we're talking about us filming police, and then there's the issue of body cameras. A journalist, James Farr, out of Pasadena, asked me to ask you about Officer Edwin Dumagwindon, and whether or not. Who, by the way, was disciplined for not turning on his body cam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to he's asking you about how some of these officers will lie on their applications, where you get officers that go from department to department.
James is in so much trouble, and I know he's listening. He's in trouble. He could have asked me that when I got off the air. I'm just kidding.
Okay, you're in trouble. I mean, this is your case, though. I mean,
it is my case.
Anthony, you represent some of the family.
Right. I represented 2 of the 3 mothers, and we settled their case back in the end of 2021, beginning of 2022, and we were able to get them the $7.5 million on that case. And then part 2 was with Anthony's dad, and they recently settled for close to $700,000. And then I have part 3, which is Anthony's grandmama, who raised him like his mother, because his mother died when he was a toddler. And then a couple of folks who did film who kind of got harassed. So we still have that, and that's coming to a resolution soon. But as far as Dumagwindon,
yes,
I think he should not have been at the police department. Clearly, he shouldn't have been hired. There's lots of problems with that guy, and I'm sure it'll ferret out sooner rather than later.
So when you have a situation like Anthony McLean, where you represent one group within the family, and then another group. And then another group. That's because they're referring their family members to you. I mean, and you.
Well, with the folks that I have now, the grandmother was part of the original case, but those lawyers, the first set of lawyers, did not do an adequate job on the settlement agreement, and I could just tell the truth and shame the devil. They failed to include the grandmother in the settlement. With the 3 mothers. So I allowed them to pay my clients millions of dollars, and then I said, okay, now what about the grandmother? Just because she died doesn't mean her estate shouldn't be paid something. So now there's a new law firm. I have no idea why they went and got a new law firm, but now there is in Pasadena. I do know why, clearly, because the other folks seems like they may have messed up. But so now it's the grandmother that even though she died during the litigation after Anthony, she still has her cause of action. And then there are a couple of witnesses that I added just before the statute was expiring.
Statute of limitations?
Yes.
Statute.
Yeah, there was another witness who was also filming. Walter Beasley was filming, and he was talking to Anthony after Anthony got shot, telling him to lay down, you're bleeding, and the officers were handcuffing him, and Mr. Beasley was standing over saying, stop doing that, get him help, call the paramedics, and he was filming. He thought he was filming. He actually had his light on, so sometimes if you get nervous, you hit the wrong button, so he actually activated his flashlight on the camera and the button. Yeah, well, it happens. He's watching his good friend. He's
no, absolutely. I don't even know how Darnella Frazier did that. I would have been so scared. I doubt I would have been able to keep filming. So I get it.
Right.
But now you're representing him?
Yes, he's part of the Anthony McLean case, part 3.
I see.
So it's about 4 plaintiffs suing the city of Pasadena.
Ooh, that's trauma right there. I mean, you're basically watching a man die and trying to save his life, and you can't do it.
Yeah, and and you're standing there watching somebody go and get handcuffed. And that's another problematic thing when someone's clearly mortally wounded and you search them for weapons and you're not the only officer on scene. There's absolutely no reason to handcuff someone who's sustained mortal injuries. There are some experts on the police side that may say, well, this person is under arrest. Here we go with the arrest. If, we're using force, so we're arresting you and we're putting cuffs on. If there are two officers that were present with Anthony McLean, there was no need to handcuff him, especially behind his back, which caused him bleeding out from the exit wound in the chest. And there was a pool of blood on the grass. That's where his memorial was. But for weeks, his pool of blood was still on the grass. These cases are super sad, but yeah.
Well, I don't know how you decompress from that, but we appreciate the work that you do. Attorney Caree Harper is my guest, and we're talking about, we started out talking about the Winco case, but I want to ask you when we come forward about, those, if you're in a situation like that, that man, Mr. Beasley, that you mentioned, what are we supposed to do? What are we not supposed to do? That's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and they're putting their money where their mouth is at. So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community, and you got to respect that. It makes me want to bank with Chase, and give them another look. If I go to another institution, I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right, Chase is doing their part to help advance Black wealth. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 is inviting you to join us on Saturday, September 16th, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for our very first economic empowerment event for the community. This event is free and it's powered by Caltrans. We're doing this in association with Rambo House, and here's Rambo to tell you more.
Contracts. I'm going to say it again for all of us small business owners out there. Contracts. Rambo House, KBLA, Tavis, me. Oh my God, this is going to be massive. I truly thank Caltrans for giving us the opportunity to focus on contracts. Listen, that's what it's all about to be a small business in LA. That's how we hire our own. That's how we expand our community is contracts. KBLA1580.com is for you to have a seat at our contracts-focused event. Contract Ready does it again. We had over 900 last time. So you guys know how exciting this is. And if you just think that you want to get into contracts and you're close to it, bring your friends out for September 16th at the Marriott Hotel. Listen, you know where to register. KBLA1580.com. Come see me. I can't wait to see you. Let's do it, Tavis.
So be sure to go to KBLA1580.com for all the details. We'll see you Saturday, September 16th.
Hello, I'm Scott Strauss. On 9/11, I was a New York City police officer assigned to finding survivors buried under the rubble of the World Trade Center. Those were difficult days, but what kept me going was seeing the way Americans joined together in unity. It didn't matter if you were a Democrat or a Republican or anything else. For 9/11 this year, now a National Day of Service, let's rekindle that spirit of unity by doing good deeds. Visit 911day.org to learn more.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
You are, and I'm talking with attorney Caree Harper. If you missed the whole show, don't worry. You can go back and see it on YouTube, or you could get it wherever you get your podcast. Just type in KBLA 1580, and of course, Dominic DePrima if you want to. Attorney Caree Harper, I know you have a very unique perspective because you've been a police officer and you've sued police officers successfully time and time again. And we have our agree to disagree moments like we just did, right? Is it systemic, or is it rooting out the bad cops versus, supporting the good cops? We always hear this conversation, where are the good cops? Why don't they step up? And the case that you were just talking about where, a black woman officer steps up and says, hey, you're doing too much. And now we see retaliation within the department.
And that officer Crutchfield, that's gonna have a rippling effect on her career. She's a young kid. I don't know exactly how old she is, but presumably in her late 20s. She has a lot of living to do, and we saw the body cam footage that the chief put on the Pasadena PD website, where she clearly is trying to de-escalate Officer Ralph Palacios, who seems to be a hothead man-child, and he's really just being unnecessarily aggressive towards my clients there, who were grieving and who were feeling out loud. They weren't under the influence, they weren't fighting, they were talking loud, and he rolls up on them and face plants one of the kids, and then the mother steps in, and you really need an adult on scene to de-escalate, and that's what this young officer appeared to have been doing, and now she's being punished for it. And of course, it seems like there are going to be some trumped up reasons that they offer, one of which she's on probation, which if you're on
as a rookie,
if you're on probation,
like academic probation, not that she did a crime.
Oh, she didn't do a crime. She's on work probation, meaning any little sneeze or hiccup, you're kind of out the door. But it doesn't measure up to how Chief Eugene Harris treated a non-black probationary officer who was the bartender serving uniformed officers tequila shots. Officer Negretti, we had her estranged husband in for a deposition last month, and he provided the ring camera footage of uniformed officers drinking on duty. And this probationary officer, she didn't get fired. She didn't get months off on administrative leave like Crutchfield. So why the double standard? You wonder, this is a cause for the citizens in Pasadena to be angry. Well, not angry, but have righteous indignation. If you're going to have a bar, then don't change the bar for the black female. You keep it the same. If you're going to do something to her, then Negretti needed to get benched too. I don't know Negretti, nor do I have anything against her, but I do know when something stinks, and this here stinks, and the chief needs to really take that into account. He's been there less than a year. We know Pasadena PD has a revolving door on chiefs. Any new controversy, they'll get another one. So he should take note. There'll be another you in a minute. So you should make your mark and do the right thing. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think it's something to track, this Officer Tazen Crutchfield, because we always say, where are the good cops? And when someone steps up and they're punished, then it sends a loud message to other officers. Don't do that. Back to your point about Falante Riddle running for office. She was a cop. She did communications within the police department there. And again, you covered up, their actions, right? In the killing of Kendrick McDade.
And when you have something that gets a good amount of attention by the media, of course the department wants to get information out because the reporters want to get information, and you have to say something. So you may not have all the facts. I'll give you that. You don't have everything up front. You want to feed them something.
Right.
But when you find out later you were wrong, you have a duty to go back and clear that up. And she's in a deposition testimony about another killing in Pasadena where they said this young man fired at police first. They found out later that was not true. No one ever went back and cleared that up.
That's pretty major. That's a pretty major thing to not clear up. Right. I mean, that's the difference between a justified and not justified shooting, correct?
Yes, it is.
All the difference in the world. Yeah, and so, but the reason I bring it up is because you talked about how Ms. Riddle, who's running for assembly, said in a deposition there is no blue wall of silence. But if we are punishing officers like Taze in Crutchfield for speaking up and trying to de-escalate, which is supposedly the department's policies now. What is that other than a blue wall of silence?
I'm with you. And why is it that Crutchfield is the last black female at Pasadena PD? They've gotten rid of all of them.
What?
There was another one. Yes. This is the last one. There's a lieutenant who should be a commander right now, but for the good old boys that you guys talked about yesterday.
Which is a gang.
Right.
I mean, an alleged gang inside the Pasadena Police Department.
Okay. Well, so why she hasn't been promoted? She's been there for decades. She's done her job, and she's gone through every department. However, folks who had a lot of things, a lot of baggage that unfortunately I can't disclose because of protective orders, have been promoted up with more success than this particular lieutenant. I believe Glover is her, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
No, that's not her. I forget her name, but she's a lieutenant at Pasadena PD. But I don't know what's going on there, but someone needs to investigate because they cannot guard themselves. They can't monitor themselves. They won't do it, and they show that over and over again.
It's yet another reason why perhaps that police, let me take out the perhaps. It's yet another reason why the Pasadena Police Department should be under a consent decree.
Oh, sure. And the people, high-ranking people there, had felonies, and Pasadena still hired them.
Wow.
Pasadena PD is hiring folks with felonies, folks who have been involved in shootings, and they have had cases against them for falsification, stealing military weapons, and they're still hired by Pasadena PD and kept.
Amazing.
So
amazing, but not amazing. When you heard the conversation yesterday, you said you heard it with Attorney Romero.
The last half.
The last half.
The
okay.
6:30.
Whatever. I think. I'm not sure if this was in that last half, but we talked about the good old boys. His client, the whistleblower, current lieutenant, actually, at the Pasadena Police Department, who claims that there is a deputy involved, a deputy gang there, the good old boys.
At Pasadena? Or
in Pasadena.
Okay, the officer gang. Okay.
Yeah. Did that surprise you?
No, not at all. Because how is it that you can have an officer, not an officer, a sergeant, Michael Glickervick, get stopped for DUI with his handgun and his daughter and a lieutenant. They get stopped by CHP. He mouths off to the CHP officer. We already know if he was black, he'd be in cuffs at this point.
Dead.
Right. He mouths off, then walks off the scene with this officer yelling at him to come back. He leaves his gun in the vehicle with his daughter. Now, we just saw the sheriff punch the woman cradling her baby, and she was charged for felony child abuse. This sergeant in Pasadena left a loaded weapon with a child and left the scene. And later, the ID was on the scene. So the prior chief, Chief Perez, knew this, didn't fire him, didn't discipline him. He's still a sergeant at Pasadena PD. What does that do for the morale for the good cops at Pasadena PD when they see Big Mike, or whatever his nickname is, him getting away with a felony on video, released by courtesy of James Farr. There you go. There you go, James. Released by him. What does it do for the good cops that sees you're getting away with bad acting and you're still working with us? Yeah. You're still a supervisor.
Wow.
Why, don't you think the federal government needs to do something?
Absolutely. Caree Harper, we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming in. It's been a great conversation.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much, Dominique.
The best of Tavis Smiley's up next. Have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Pennsylvania, Chief Larry Scarrato is continuing work on the community outreach initiative he's established for the Pittsburgh Police Bureau. The chief joined representatives with the Black Political Empowerment Project for a community meeting yesterday evening. The session was one of 5 similar discussions planned in various Pittsburgh neighborhoods, with the goal being a better relationship between the public and law enforcement, according to the chief. Some 640,000 homes and businesses in Michigan and Ohio are without power after severe thunderstorms slammed the region with heavy rains, powerful winds, and at least one tornado. The storms blew across southern Michigan into Ohio after midnight, packing wind gusts of up to 85 miles an hour and hail as big as an inch and a half. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Discover credit cards do something pretty awesome. At the end of your first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right, everything you earned doubled. The cash back from trips, restaurants, all doubled. Seriously, though, see terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are 30 games over 500 after winning 2 in Cleveland on Thursday. The Dodgers are rolling to another NL West title. They lead the Giants by 12 games. They're in Boston tonight to begin a 3-game series. The Final Four of the Little League World Series is set. A California team from El Segundo will play Texas on Saturday for the U.S. Championship. 12:30 start on ABC. Curacao plays Chinese Taipei Saturday morning for the international title. The winners meet on Sunday for the World Championship. Former USC wide receiver Jordan Addison pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge for speeding. Addison, a first-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings, was pulled over on July 20th for driving 140 miles an hour on a highway in St. Paul. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Time now for the best of Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
1, 2, 3, go! I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back in style again.
Live from Leimert Park, USA, I'm Tavis Smiley, and you're listening to the best of Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580. Let me invite you to follow us on all of our socials at KBLA 1580. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, all at KBLA 1580. You can also download our app at KBLA 1580. Take us with you anywhere in the world and listen to us in real time by downloading our app at KBLA 1580. Should you miss us any day in real time, check out the podcast of this program by going to the app, the website, Anchor, or Spotify, and now Apple Podcast as well. Check out our podcast at your leisure should you miss us any day in real time. Let me also invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. A good Best of Tavis Smiley show on tap for you today. In our second hour, today would have been the 90th birthday of iconic jazz master Wayne Shorter. A conversation in hour 2 with the director of the new documentary Wayne Shorter Zero Gravity, Dorsey Olive. In our third hour, actress, producer, writer, syndicated radio host, and comedian Amanda Seales joins us to talk about her new political comedy documentary, In Amanda We Trust. But in this first hour today, a conversation with Kenneth B. Morris Jr., the great-great-great-grandson of Frederick Douglass and the great-great-grandson of Booker T. Washington. Talk about a legacy. Kenneth, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Tavis. How are you?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing well, and I am delighted to be in dialogue with you. It's a beautiful thing just to hear your voice through this fiber optic line. So thank you for the time. I'm glad we have an hour. There's so much I want to talk to you about, Kenneth, in this hour. Let me start with this, and I'm going to try to make this thing work in this hour, because again, there's so much to talk about. I've been thinking for 2 days now how I want to frame this. So let me just see what we can do here. First of all, I suspect that when you are related to both Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington, and you've had occasion to share that with other people, my sense is you've been called a liar in your life probably more times than you can count.
Hey, I've been called a liar by friends, family, teachers, principals. As you said, more times than I can count, for sure. It's one of those things that I remember being a little boy, and when I did have the courage to tell somebody that I was related to both Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington, nobody ever believed me, and I never thought that it was a point worth arguing. So you're right on target with that.
Yep. When you get called a liar that many times as a young person, who is proud of his family heritage, what impact does that have on a young mind, a young heart?
Well, you're making me think about a story. I was probably about 6 or 7 years old, and I remember my teacher said to all of my classmates and to me, go home and bring back something that can tell the story of your family history, your family tree. And my teacher didn't know my connection to Douglass and Washington. This was just an assignment that she was giving to the whole class. Mm-hmm. So I went home to my mother and I said, I've got this assignment. What should I bring? And she runs into the bedroom and goes under the bed, and she comes back and she hands me this cane. And I look at that and I said, well, what is this? And she said, well, that's Abraham Lincoln's cane. And I said, wait a minute, Mom, when I tell people I'm related to Douglass and Washington, nobody ever believes me. And you want me to take this cane to school and tell my classmates and my teachers that that's Abraham Lincoln's cane? And she said, yeah, you'll be all right. Go on and do it. So I go to school, and later on that afternoon, my mother gets a call from the principal, and she said, I've got Kenny here in my office, and he seems to have some issues with telling the truth. So, yeah, and you know what happened next after that. Mom went down and she straightened things out. But to your point, when you're a kid, when you're young, and people don't believe you, you start to feel embarrassed about sharing that. And I really spent my whole life, for a lot of reasons, not only because people didn't believe me, but I also saw what the pressure had done to those that came before me to try to live up, to legacies of these two great and influential American heroes, and the pressure and the weight of expectation that people in my family have carried. So, yeah, I spent most of my life, as I say today, decisively disengaged from my lineage.
Yeah. Just because I'm curious,